I was born and raised in Rome, but I wouldn't go back now. Here, Castelli Romani now is my home. Here we have an insane wine culture, and the vibe is really different.
I was wondering if you can describe like your perfect weekend at Castelli Romani, but definitely like in 3 words.
3 words. So wine, of course, culture, and nature, because we are surrounded with lake and woods, and we here have a many culture, and we here have many wines.
Welcome to the next generation with me, your host, Giulia Stocchetti. Join me as I take you on a journey to discover young stars of the Italian food and wine world. Pronti? Andiamo! Hi everyone, and welcome back to the next generation on the Italian Wine Podcast with a new episode. Today, here with me, there's Valerio Di Mauro from Colle Picchioni, based in Castelli Romani. So I was talking to Valerio like a couple days ago because I really wanted like to schedule the interview, and I was like, oh my god, it's time. So I was messaging him, I was texting him, and he was like, oh yeah, I didn't forget, but I'm about to catch a plane. He was traveling. So Valerio, where have you been lately?
Hi, thank you for having me. So I was in Spain. I travel a lot, both for work and because I love discovering new places. Spain's kind of like a second home to me. I spend a ton of time there since my wife is Spanish. So every time I go, it's not just a business, it's also a chance to reconnect with my place that means a lot to me.
So your wife is from Spain. From what part of Spain?
It's from Valencia.
Oh, beautiful. What's her name?
Laia. It's not a typical name from Valencia, but Laia is the same of Laura in Italian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In Barcelona is Laia.
Oh, wonderful. So her family is still in Valencia, or she moved with everyone to Italy?
She is half German and half Spanish. So the family live in Spain and in German.
Oh, nice. And what language do you speak together?
When we met for the first time, we spoke in English, but now we speak in Italian or in Spanish.
Oh,
Depend. We
beautiful.
say if we stay here in Italy, we talk in Italian. But when we moved in Spain, we start to speak Spanish.
And what language do you prefer? Your Italian native language, or you prefer Spanish?
I'm in love with Spanish, so I prefer to speak Spanish.
So actually, you were traveling for leisure this time. You weren't working this weekend.
I go to work and to meet my family. Well, the family of my wife.
Okay, so both. That said, I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your background because I started directly asking you where you were this weekend, and people might be like, "Who's this Valerio?" Like,
So I grew up in a winemaking family, but I didn't jump to wine right away. I actually study law, thinking I do something completely different. But at some point, I felt like I needed to create something real instead of just studying theories and cases. That's when I started look at wine with different eyes.
so you were born in a winemaker's family, basically, but you weren't interested in wine, right? You wanted to do something different.
I started studying to become a lawyer, but it was not for me.
Oh, nice. I'm so happy to hear that. It's much better making wines and making people happy instead of, being a lawyer and maybe not being like the best person ever you want to meet during your life. But, that's another story. Let's go back to fun and to wine. So now what do you do in your life?
I run Colle Picchioni, that is my family's winery. I take care of whole winemaking process, from working the vineyards to handling production, because the winery isn't small, but it's not huge either, which is perfect because I still get to be super hands-on. I care a lot about making sure every detail reflects our vision.
That's beautiful. And how many bottles you make a year? Because you said it's quite small, so.
We produce more or less 100,000 bottles per year.
Ah, okay. And
Yes.
how come you're able to make wines? I mean, you studied law, you can't apply the same knowledge to winemaking, I guess. So how come?
I start work here with my grandma and my father. And when I started, there were many enologists and winemakers here. And I had the opportunity to stay with them, and I study a lot. I had to study enology for by myself without university.
That's beautiful. So you learned by making, and that's even better, I guess. You had enough with theory studying law, and now you just were like, now I want to go do something with my hands. I want to do practice and not just, spending time on books and regulations and laws. Even if in Italy, in wine business, in the wine world, there are tons of regulations. We all know that, but it's fine.
I study law because my dad and a bunch of my relatives were lawyers. So I just felt like the natural choice, but it wasn't really my passion. And I realized that I want to do something more creative, something where I could actually build something real, something that people could try. And lawyer is maybe is not the same.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, especially because making wine means also like sharing the wine with people and making people happy, instead of meeting people, being a lawyer, being serious, and dealing with hard and difficult stuff. So, I think they needed someone like you in the family. Too many serious people otherwise. But so I was wondering, what are your hobbies? Like, what do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, for sure, skiing. I love skiing. There's something about the mountains that totally resets my mind. And whenever I get the chance, I try to escape for a few days and just enjoy being out in nature. My other hobbies is traveling. Traveling is a huge part of my life, not only for the work, but for the pure joy of exploring new places, experiencing different cultures, and connecting with some interesting people.
That's awesome. I mean, I love skiing and I love traveling too, so I guess we could be friends. We could get along pretty well. And I guess your wife also enjoys
Yeah,
spending time with you traveling and playing sports, right?
sure.
Does she help you also at the winery?
Sure. She helped me a lot here. We work here every day, and without her, for me, could be really difficult.
That's beautiful. It's incredible. I mean, it means you really love each other because most people are like, oh my God, I could never ever work with my husband or with my wife. We need to
No,
separate the careers. But in your case, it's beautiful. It's really a work of love. We can say it, right?
I love work with my wife. Many people told me could be very difficult, but for me, it's really easy.
So nice. I got two questions for you now. It's about dating. Okay. So first is like, how did you first date with your actual wife?
Okay.
I'm curious now.
We met in Hard Rock Cafe here in American Bar in Rome when she went here more than 20 years ago. And we met for the first time, and I traveled in Spain after 2 months, and I spent a lot of time with her in Valencia.
That's awesome. So you met in Rome and then you took a plane and you went to see her. Wow, that's beautiful. And how did you propose?
21 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And how did you propose? How did you ask her to marry?
In the mountain, when we
Oh,
when we went to mountain, our mountain, because we are in love with a mountain here in the neighborhood of Rome.
hmm.
And when we go to hike, I made her the proposal.
Oh, and she said yes, of course.
Oh, yes. Of
Otherwise, you
course.
would have left her there. No, just kidding. That's amazing. That's awesome. So, how long have you been married?
uh, 11 years.
Oh, beautiful. So you were so young, I guess. That's amazing. Fantastic. And now let's go with my second question, and it's about your first date with wine. Like, how did you fall in love with wine?
For me, it's a little different because I was born in this kind of family with many people that talk about wines. And for the first time of my life, I thought I could do something different because all my family do these works and I want to try to do something different. But every day I heard people talk about wine, talk about vineyards, talk about everything around the wine world. And I think it's easy to fall in love with this world if everyone in your neighborhood this world, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it was your grandma, right, founding Colle Picchioni?
50 years ago, my grandma saw the potential in this land. And she was a woman that have no afraid to take risks. And before she bought the land, there was a farmer living there who used to make his own wine, like many people here. And when my grandma asked him why he didn't try to make better wine, he just said, literally, ma'am, if you think you can do it better, go ahead. She took that as a challenge. We are here because this farmer maybe helped shape what Colle Picchioni would become.
Oh,
And
what a story. It's quite unique.
I think this was our turning point because my grandma started experimenting and working with some best enologists. And I think she really built something unique. Later, after my grandma, my dad took the winery to the next level, refining our wines, expanding our presence in the world. And I also wanted to leave my mark in our wines. No, I told you my wife's name is Laia, so
Hmm.
I dedicated one wine to my wife. The wine is Per Laia, that is a play on words in Italian, since per laia means for laia. That is a wine for laia. And I also dedicate another wine to my grandma, Donna Paola, as a tribute to the strong, determined woman who started all.
And does she still involved in the wine production?
No, she passed away a few years ago, but her influence is still everywhere in the winery. My passion for wine really comes from her and from my dad as well.
So the relationship between the two of you must have been so special.
Yeah,
Do you have any brothers or sisters helping you out, or you're the only child?
I have one brother that he make other work. He don't work here.
So he's not enjoying the fun part of life, making wine at Colle Picchioni with you, but he is. Hopefully, he's drinking wine though, right?
Yeah, sure.
Nice.
Of course.
And so, do you prefer working in the vineyards or making wines in the cellar?
Uh,
I know it's a tough question.
yeah, tough question. I think both because vineyard is really important for the wine making. I love work in the nature and the open air, but I think where we can be really creative is in the cellar.
Definitely makes sense, yeah. And when you say you want to leave a mark at Colle Picchioni, putting something really yours into this project, let's say, what do you mean? What's the mark you're trying to give and to leave?
I try to do something different. For many years here, people work with the same grape, with the same method, and follow the same path. And I try to do something different, like we experimenting other kind of grape, like Julia grapes, for example, and we craft some artisanal beer, and gin, and we tried to do something different, like the normal way.
Oh wow! So basically, you said you're growing uva Giulia. Wow! I mean, that grape was maybe named after me. She's I mean, quite fussy and tricky grape.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not easy to grow nor to vinify. And how do you deal with a grape? Why did you decide to restore that grape?
So it all started in Pescosolido, that is a small town in Valcomino with a strong winemaking tradition and several high quality producers. I met Luigi, that is a local grower who was passionate about reviving old grape varieties. Pescosolido, in the neighborhood of Rome and bordering Lazio and Abruzzo, is really special. It's up in the hills, has rocky soil, high altitude, and is steeped in winemaking history. So Luigi told me about Uva Giulia, a grape that had almost disappeared. People didn't really use it for winemaking. They used to dry the grapes and eat them as a winter treat because it's naturally high acidity that made a classic winemaking tricky. So then it clicked, high acidity is exactly what makes a great sparkling wine. I thought maybe this grape was never meant for still wines. What if it's perfect for sparkling? So we do a method classic, a classic method with Uva Giulia that come out maybe this year.
So you're making this sparkling wine, and hopefully it's gonna be ready this year. You said, right?
Yeah, in maybe in May,
Okay. And how much time on the lease?
30 months.
Oh wow, 40 months.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a long time.
In May, we will sell the 2021 harvest.
Oh, beautiful. And how many bottles did you make?
Only few bottles. For the 2021, we started with 500 bottles. Now in 2024 harvest, we will arrive at 1,200 more or less. There are a few plays with these grapes, so we try to introduce new, really tricky, because perfect place to grow this grape is in the mountain, the limestone and altitude, and it's really difficult to do that.
Oh, wow. I really wish I could taste that wine. I mean, thanks to you, I know that there's a grape variety that has the same name as me, so it's exciting. And I love the fact that Julia Grape loves altitude, mountains, and all that, and you can make sparkling wines out of it. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I have to say it. I learned something new, and hopefully, I'll be able to try some because it must be good for sure. I mean, I have no doubt. From Uva Giulia, just outstanding wines. That's all I'm expecting. All right. So, wow, that's really interesting. And but now that it's winter, you don't have much to do in the vineyards, I guess. So, what are you up to in this time of the year? Traveling?
So I know that winter definitely brings a calm to the vineyard since the vines are essentially hibernating. But doesn't mean we are off. The cellar is buzzing as our wines need constant attention. I use the quitter season to study and deepen my winemaking knowledge. And whenever I can, I still manage to hit the slopes where for a ski session.
That's beautiful. Do you have to drive far away or you have some mountains close to where you're staying?
We have a mountain here. In 1 hour, we arrive in a big mountain here.
That's beautiful. So yeah, now you have some spare time to do that. But I have to be sincere. I was like stalking you on Instagram, just was wondering who Valerio actually is, at least from from what we can see from social media. And I saw that when the season is nice, so basically like spring and summer, you organize this like wine experiences in the vineyards, at sunset, and I was wondering like what kind of people attend these events, why do you organize these events, like does it also benefit the vines to have some good vibes and nice people around?
Yeah, so mostly it's locals, people who love wine and a chill sunset vibe in the vineyards. But since our area is well known, is almost is touristic, we do get some visitors from elsewhere too. It's a friendly mix of wine lovers coming together to enjoy the relaxed atmosphere. As for the vines, I like to think that the positive energy from these gatherings gives the vineyards a little extra boost. There's something special about sharing a beautiful sunset and great wine that really enhance the vibe of place. So
Yeah, and they should be happy because they're like, oh, you see, with the fruit of our branches, with the fruit of us, they make outstanding wines and that people then enjoy here at sunset in the good season. So yeah, I think it's pretty good for them too.
yeah,
Definitely. And I think, but you don't grow uva Giulia in the same place, right?
no,
Because if yeah, if you need like some cool influence, I
yeah.
think it's not the best place. But
The only place perfect for the uva Giulia, I think, is in Pescosolido, because there are the unique condition for the perfect grow of that kind of grapes.
And I'm curious to know one thing about the wine dedicated to your wife. Like, what kind of wine is it? And also, same for the wine dedicated to your grandma. So, different styles, different grapes. Can you please just, in a nutshell, tell us the differences and what they are?
The first wine, the wine for my wife, Perlaya, is a blend of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, and is our not most important wine, but the wine that more represents our winery. And the same for Donna Paola is Malvasia. This is a typical grape from this area, Malvasia del Lazio, and Semillon, and had the same character of my grandma. So it's a little strong, but really easy to connect with.
Oh, that's beautiful. Really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing this personal information. It's really appreciated. And so you're still so young, and I guess you have so many plans also with your wife. And so, how do you see yourself in the future?
I plan to keep pushing boundaries by experimenting with new products. I think is in winemaking is a slow-moving sector that demands serious time and financial investment. And I think staying dynamic is key. So I hope I could be every time dynamic in my future.
Wow, that's deep, man. Yeah, that's deep. So now back with my sneaky questions. Like you're based in Castelli Romani, right? As area. Okay, so Rome or Castelli Romani?
Castelli Romani, no doubt. Uh,
And why?
I, I,
Why?
wa- I
Not
was
just
born.
because they're Sova Giulia, come on, I know, but like why Castelli Romani?
Why? I was born and raised in Rome, but I wouldn't go back now. Here, Castelli Romani now is my home. Here we have an insane wine culture, and the vibe is really different.
So you're in love with your area, and I was wondering if you can describe like your perfect weekend at Castelli Romani, but definitely like in 3 words.
3 words. So wine, of course, culture, and nature, because we are surrounded with lake and woods, and we here have a many culture, and we here have many wines.
That's fantastic. I guess people now feel like traveling to Castelli Romani, reach out to you, taste your wines, enjoy the nature, the culture, and maybe why not go skiing together. I think you should be also promoting the area as a touristic place, not just for amazing wine. So this is a mean question of mine, but I really want to ask you: making wine or skiing?
Ah, tough one. I say making wine because in the end, after a ski session, nothing is better than a bottle of wine.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. So basically, what you said is like skiing and making wines, and I can
Sure,
accept that.
exactly.
Yeah, it's fine. That's beautiful. So, Valerio, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And if there's anything you want to say, you want to add before we wrap up the episode, you're most welcome. It's your show, basically. So, up to you.
I told many part of myself, so for me it's perfect.
Nice, beautiful. So, thank you so much again. I hope I'll be able to enjoy some of your sparkling wine traditional method
Sure.
made with Uva Giulia. So curious about that, but as I said, it's gonna be delicious for sure. So, I have no doubts. You're a great winemaker, dynamic person, experimenting, also loving the nature. So, I have positive vibes. Not only that, but also your other wines. So I thank
Thank
you so
you.
very much again for being our guest today, and I thank you also our listeners. And I really recommend to stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of the Next Generation on the Italian Wine Podcast. Grazie mille, alla prossima. Ciao. Grazie for being with me today and listening to the Next Generation on the Italian Wine Podcast. Alla prossima. Cin cin.